Colleagues, we are moving right along. As I said, Trishen is here. He's now going to be talking about understanding of the circular, practicalization, and how do we start putting this in use. Trishen, if you're ready, please go on.
Thank you, Ike. Good morning, colleagues. I think, firstly, I want to be very, very appreciative of the session. I think it was a long time coming and highly needed. And from the questions that were asked, it was essential that this interaction between school officials, district officials, provincial education departments, and I'm so happy and we are blessed that DBE is on the platform. I think the first thing is, and I've noticed it, there is still a misinterpretation of the circular. Remember, communication and mediation of the circular is key at all levels. And even with the recent circular D3 of 2023, which was further amended in February of 2024, some schools were still sitting with the outdated D3 circular. And with the questions that were asked by the colleagues on the platform now, certain words or a word can change the whole interpretation of the circular. But I think that this platform now raises such issues so that the circular in future can be further refined to include the public schools in terms of the LSEN and to further refine the underperforming status of primary schools. That word "and" changes the whole interpretation of the circular. But we need to look at the positives moving forward, and I'm so happy that we have this opportunity to do that. Ike, with me, it's a blessing as a country that we have Triple D as a platform. Data is essential in our decision making, especially at school level, and schools are not fully utilizing or maximizing this opportunity. And I think with this session and moving further, we need to again mediate the need of registrations on the weekly webinars so that school officials, who are the main role players in the education system in the country, to use the platform and to gather the data, to refine the data, to clean the data, to interpret the data. I mean, the director mentioned earlier from Johannesburg West how his district interprets the data, analyzes the data in terms of making decisions holistically as a district to improve the learner performance outcomes within the district, not just quantitatively, but qualitatively. And I think the refining of the circular over the past few years has illustrated and emphasized the need for schools to highlight the qualitative need instead of only the quantitative need with regards to learner performance data. It's important, yes, that we achieve high pass rates as an institution. However, with the refined circulars thus far to date, the emphasis is also on the quality of the pass that is needed at school level. You know, I always say that when you exit a primary school and you try to get into a high school, you need good quality results. And when you exit a secondary school and you go into a tertiary institution, the tertiary institutions prioritize the quality of results that learners have. And one day when you want to enter the workforce as well and you get your degree or your diploma at the tertiary level, before you can get into an interview, the quality of your qualification matters. So I think this is the other reason why we are trying to emphasize the quality of a pass at school level from an early age. And you know, the circular speaks about grade 6 and it speaks about grade 12. But if I'm in a primary school or a secondary school and a combined school, it's important to identify challenges, cognitive challenges, from an early age or an early stage, and try to intervene before those learners enter grade 6 or before those learners enter grade 12. So as much as the circular emphasizes grade 6 and grade 12, I think as managers, especially at schools and district level, we need to emphasize that all educators at all grades in all subjects need to prioritize that the quality of a pass is essential for learners to gain whatever knowledge and skills they require to move or to transcend to the next grade. And if we can do that, there won't be an issue or a backlog of progress learners or retained learners moving through the years. It's not to say that LOLT is more important and maths is more important in those grades. And in a secondary school, it's not to say that grade 12 is more important, because that's what we do. When we plan educator placements in terms of subjects and grades, we tend to put the best educators in grade 6, because now we are stressing, now it's an underperforming grade. We need to have the best educators there. In grade 12, we want to put all our best educators in grade 12. And the mindset, especially with regard to the application of the circular, we need to think out of the box. Nothing stops us as management of a school to say, let us then put our best educators at grade 4 at the start of a new phase. Let us then put our best educators in grade 8 or even grade 10 before those learners get to grade 12, so that they can grasp the basic knowledge and skills of that particular subject moving forward. So from the presentations that were provided earlier, you can see that education quality is essential in our country as a whole. And this circular should be mediated at all levels, between educators, amongst the SMT, amongst the senior management staff, even at district level. It shouldn't be the curriculum unit on their own supporting schools based on this circular or the assessment officials. It needs to be a collaboration amongst different business units at district level and indeed provincial level as well. Hands need to come together to collaboratively work in order to apply the circular correctly, and to make sure that in terms of our learner performance data, the analysis and the interpretation thereof, which would lead to intervention strategies, are implemented as aligned to the circular. And again, I'm going to stress it. Don't focus on only in the primary school, grade 6, LOLT and maths. Focus on all subjects in all grades. In the same with high schools. You don't focus on grade 12 and all the subjects there, but you focus on all subjects in all grades. Because if those learners at an early stage do not grasp the quintessential knowledge and skills, you're going to sit with the situation in those grades at some time during the learner's academic timeline. So with regards to the circular, and it was mentioned that when the circular was adapted from 2014 up to the revised 2023, with secondary schools, you have the pass rate improving or increasing to a 70% pass rate. And then your bachelor pass rate increased to maintain the 30%, but then now we don't look at the 25% diploma passes. And that in itself tells you that the emphasis by DBE as a whole is on the quality of the pass. So if you are in a secondary school, for example, and your learners get a 70% pass rate, but do not meet the bachelor threshold of 30%, unfortunately, you are underperforming. And the circular is so important. We had a school, 100% pass rate in matric, 29.96% bachelor. That's 0.04% that they were short. And unfortunately, that school, and we had to explain to the principal, as frustrating as it is, Let's explain to the principal that, the circular does not say round off to the nearest 10, unfortunately. And now it's too late to complain. But if you interpret the circular and mediate the circular and implement the circular from an early stage in the schooling career of a learner, you won't have such stress come the end of an academic year. With the combined school as well, it's a little bit more difficult because now you got to ensure that grade 6 and grade 12 are performing in terms of the requirements of the circular. If one or the other do not meet the requirements, your school as a combined institution is deemed underperforming. But again, you need to ensure that even when you have a newly appointed educator or you have a newly appointed SMT member or a senior management staff, even your SGBs, even district level, when you have a newly appointed IDSO or reassigned IDSO to that school, everybody as part of the induction needs to understand the circular. It should be there consistently and persistently in every single meeting, even if it is just to remind officials of the need to meet the requirements of the circular. When it comes to the primary schools, and the question was asked, LOLT, and if you're a dual medium school, what then? Now, if you have a dual medium school and your one subject is deemed underperforming based on the learner performance data and the requirements of the circular, then unfortunately you are underperforming. But again, okay, a lot of planning. From the end of last year, schools would have planned for the academic year 2025. And at the beginning of this year, if they were deemed underperforming, they would have received the letter, as Ma'am Smith indicated, to say you are underperforming because of so and so and so. But now you don't panic. You put that in your planning meetings. You need to compile an APIP, an academic performance improvement plan. What schools are doing is that they are only including in a primary school grade 6 subjects. Some schools are only including grade 6 LOLT and maths. In a high school, you're only including grade 12 underperforming subjects, and that's incorrect. You need to, if you're a primary school or a secondary school, in your APIP, you need to include all subjects across all grades so that you can monitor and track, identify first where your problem areas lie, in which subjects, and you monitor and you review the implementation of the intervention strategies. It's a continuous, it's a working document. And through that, you will see how there will be a decline in the number of learners that are progressing, the number of learners that are repeating, and an improvement in the quantity and quality of your pass. The circular, what I love about the circular is that when we find ourselves underperforming, we want to prioritize your at-risk learners. And what this circular forces you to do is to not only focus on your at-risk learners, because if you focus only on your at-risk learners, you might improve the quantity of the pass in your subject, but you're going to fall short of the quality. So what is the circular indirectly telling you? It's telling you that you need to prioritize the moderate learners as well as the high-performing learners who we forget about in this process of supporting the at-risk learners. In supporting the at-risk, which includes your progress learners and your retained learners, which includes your moderate and your high-performing learners, you need to make sure that intervention strategies are directed towards these groups or categories individually. So you cannot have a one-size-fits-all approach to support. And your APIP needs to be very, very clear regarding this. When you look at an APIP, it still says, no, we're going to have extra classes. But when you go and you monitor, monitoring is key. And this is what schools need to highlight. SMTs need to prioritize. As much as you might have a plan in place, you need to monitor whether that plan is working. And if it's not working, you need to review that plan on a termly. In fact, you can review that plan as of today if you find that something is not working. That's the best part of a working document in the APIP. And remember, when it comes to your school improvement plan, your APIP and your school improvement plan must be talking to one another. And it must be somewhere there, we need to see that you are including the implementation of Circular D3 in those documents, in those working documents. So if learners are in a support class, they are moderate learners in a support class, we are not telling you how to teach, but we are saying that the level of teaching and learning, the methodologies that you are going to be using, the types of questioning that you are going to be using or exposing the learners to are definitely going to be different than that of the support class that has the at-risk learners, that of the support class that has the high-performing learners. Intervention strategies need to be interwoven and accommodative of those those cognitive levels. And the circular is not directly saying that, okay, but if you interpret it and you read through it and you understand the gist of it, that's further, it's a deep dive into what is expected of schools. And I think Ma'am Smith also mentioned that what should officials be doing as of now? I mean, when you at a school level, whether you are underperforming or not, because if I'm not underperforming, I don't want to be underperforming. So if I interpret the circular, I need to also make sure in my plans, I infuse the circular so that I ensure that my institution is not underperforming. I go to a school, the principal will ask you, but Mr. Maraj, why are you here? We are a top performing school. We have 100% pass rate for the last 5 years. Now, what people forget, reading is very important. I'm not even a reader myself. But when you get a circular, at the very end of the circular, section 8, it says utilization of top performing schools, 8.1, and I'm quoting. The NDP, it urges us to recognize the value of top performing schools as national assets. Strategies to improve learning outcomes in a province, district, or circuit must, therefore, include the creative utilization of top local performing schools. And Ma'am spoke about pairing schools, pairing a top performing school with an underperforming school. It is, colleagues, to share good practices to ensure that our underperforming schools improve in their results. And for those district officials and provincial education officials that are on the platform, if we can improve the results of a school within a cluster, within a district, within a province, we are improving the results at all levels, even nationally. And that is why it's included in the circular, to say it doesn't matter if you are not underperforming, you are also included, because we want to learn from you as a top performing school wherever you are situated. Consequence management is also stressed in the circular, which people also tend to forget about. And I don't want to dwell too much on this, but senior management staff at a school, and in particular, circuit management teams, need to mediate this part of the circular very, very in-depthly to school principals. Because at the end of the day, a school principal is the accounting officer of an institution. And he cannot play blame on not having, for example, a deputy principal, or not having a departmental head in that subject, and now those subjects are underperforming. It's the same with, at district level, you might not have a district official, a curriculum official for physical sciences to support the underperforming educator. Everybody at every level needs to play their role based on the circular to ensure that the minimum roles and responsibilities that they have are implemented at all levels. And if that can be done, no school will be underperforming. And if it's not done through all of the improvement plans, whether at school level, whether at district level, whether at provincial level, those gaps need to be closed. And I mean, even in this platform now, we have mentioned certain aspects of the circular that are problematic at school level, to identify schools as underperforming. And it is these sessions that assist us to improve moving forward. So, colleagues, mediation, I mentioned, is key. Implementation of the circular is key, not only to the identified subjects or the listed subjects and the listed grades, but across the whole institution, whether you are a primary school or a secondary school, combined school. Support is key, but coming with support is your monitoring and your review. You need to monitor the impact of implementation of those recommendations and strategies and interventions that you have, but you need to review it to see what is working and what is not working for you. Because remember, we are different. Our institutions are different. We are faced with different challenges every day. And there might be a reason for underperformance that is not even in the control of the school, the way, the issue cannot be assisted at school level. It has to go to the district. Even there, it might be a challenge that is identified that is causing underperformance that is not even at district level can be supported. So we need to identify, prioritize those challenges that are heeding or impeding our underperformance at school and try to improve on it. If we are sitting in this meeting and we are a performing school, you don't have 100% pass rate. You don't have 100% subject average in all of your subjects of any subject in any grade in your institution. That means that you have room for improvement. And what's the guiding documents? If it's not your UPLIP because you're not an underperforming school, it's your school improvement plan and your subject improvement plans need to come to the fore. And if those plans are just, into paper and not implemented, it's pointless how much of intervention you're going to try to impose on the school or the district. It's not going to work. So the key is to ensure that from lesson planning right up to lesson delivery, to programs of assessments, to marking, to moderation, to reporting at different levels. And I'm just speaking at school level now. Every single level needs to be, or every single activity related to curriculum and assessment need to be strengthened in order for the institution to ensure that they are not underperforming. And I'm glad we're going to have the breakaway sessions where we're going to go into primary school breakaway room and a secondary school breakaway room. So the colleagues, especially those that are for the first time on the dashboard, can see how we use the dashboard to interpret the data, to use the data to make informed decisions with regards to improving the academic performance at our institutions. So Ike, another important misperception that was noted by Ma'am Smith was the calculation of a grade 12 bachelor pass. A lot of us, especially last year, we were, mixing up the calculation. And she now clarified that it's the number of bachelor passes achieved at the school divided by the number of learners that wrote, not the total number of learners that passed.
That's true, yeah.
So now when you get a letter from the province, it's different. The bachelor rate is now saying something different to what DBE's letter is saying. And what do we do? Colleagues, DBE overrides province. That one is clear. And now I'm happy for those that are in this meeting to get a clear understanding that it's the number of bachelor passes achieved over the number of learners that wrote times 100 will give you the percentage. And if that percentage falls below 30%, it means that you are underperforming. So as an institution, if you're a primary school or a secondary school, let us interpret this, the circular. Let us see how the circular is going to be aligned to the data points on the dashboard and how we can use those data points to extract information that will assist us in ensuring that we plan for an improvement in our results or plan against being considered underperforming come the end of the academic year. From my side, I thank you.